Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and Bryan Kohberger has taken a plea deal in the Idaho 4 case. And there are some who are pleased and some who are very displeased. And I want to talk about the two reasons for that. Those who are pleased believe that not having this long trial that it would be, um, that would require, first of all, a jury to use a good portion of their life to be in the jury room and have to deal with the horrors of this crime, which are horrible. So this jury would have to theoretically see photos of these four students, which will probably give them PTSD for the rest of their lives. That's if the defense didn't prevent them from being shown. It would be a grueling case. And so for the families having to sit through this, for the jury, I think it's just as well that they don't have to. Secondly, it would cost a fortune. And so that is always a big issue. It's like, can the state save money, and is it worthwhile saving money? And not only will they save money by not having the actual trial, but if he didn't take the plea deal, which doesn't allow him to go for appeals, if they went for the death penalty on this, and let's say that he was found guilty, the appeal after appeal after appeal after appeal that would be going on for years would be ungodly costly. And also, just to say, the most dangerous part of this whole thing is, if we've seen the conspiracy theorists come out on this case, and poor old Bryan, he's innocent as all get out, he didn't do it. And so they would have been out in force, and they would have possible influence on the jury because all this stuff has been public and will continue on. And so there's a possibility that he would be found not guilty, and this guy would be out there in society again. Dangerous, murderous psychopath. So if you don't have to take the chance on the death penalty, maybe it's not worth doing. So I think that he took the plea deal and is not going to be able to get any appeals and all that. Just go away and stay where you need to be, which is caged. Now, I will say this: if death penalties were able to be enforced quickly and not have the amount of appeals, even when the evidence is extreme, proving that he did it, if it was something quicker, well, then I think that would make more sense. But when you have the way things go these days, where basically they're going to spend life in prison anyway and never actually be executed, let's just go with the plea deal. So I think that's those who are in favor of it. That's where I come in and say, I also agree with that. Those who are not in favor are not pleased by the plea deal. We do have one of the parents doesn't like it because he wants him dead. And I understand that. So my heart goes out to him for that. Another parent said, okay, I'm good with the plea deal. So there's always going to be somebody who just would really like to see this guy get the death penalty, because after all, he believes in the death penalty. Bryan Kohberger believes in the death penalty. He does. Why? Because he gave the death penalty to 4 young people who did no crime. They got no trials. They got no jury. He believes 100% in the death penalty, so he deserves to get it too. But so I'm with the parent who is upset about it, in the sense that I get it. I do get it. But when you're weighing things out, maybe it's just, unfortunately, the plea deal may make more sense. The others who are highly displeased about him getting this plea deal, guess who it is? YouTubers, the media, because they just shut down all that money that those YouTubers and the media were going to make, because this would have been a massive trial. And everybody would have been glued to the set if it was televised. Now, I don't know whether it would be televised or not. So if it wouldn't be televised, it would be a different story. But if it would be televised, we've seen 2 trials of Karen Reed, which I think should never have been televised. So, but this is what people make money on. Also, the salaciousness of it. People want to hear, and I've heard this, and I've even heard this on family. They want to have him tell them why he did it. They want to know his motive. Guess what, folks? He's a psychopath. You will never know his motive. He's a pathological liar. He will lie if he feels like lying. So him saying anything doesn't really matter. And the other thing that people want to know, the ones who are displeased with the plea bargain, they wanted him to, since the trial wouldn't happen, we wouldn't get all those details out there. But also they thought as part of the plea deal, he should have had to explain how he committed each one of the crimes and why. In the sense of Dennis Rader. Again, he's a pathological liar. You can't believe him. But people want to hear it because it's exciting. And when Dennis Rader did that, this was huge. This was huge stuff on television. Massive, massive audience watching Dennis Rader state why he killed every one of his victims. And of course, Dennis Rader was enjoying himself. This was a thrill for him, but it was also a thrill for other people who were watching it, who love to be shocked and appalled, and it's entertainment for them, or murdertainment as it should be called. So I don't think that's necessary. We do not need to know all of those details. We do not. We absolutely do not. And then you can ask, why doesn't the prosecution want those details known? Well, in this particular case, I don't think there's any question that he killed these 4 people. In the Dennis Rader case, I will put my link to my video on that. I have always had suspicions that Dennis Rader did not commit the Otero homicides, the 4 people there, and the Catherine Bright homicide that followed. I believe he was a copycat. But the show that was put on may have been done to convince the public, and nothing that Dennis Rader said about those crimes was nothing that wasn't known in the police reports. So now there may be people who disagree with me and they think Dennis Rader did them all. He was BTK 100%. I think he was a copycat. And I went out there and actually was working with one of my cases. I came out there, was working with a suspect, not with a suspect, but working on a suspect that was very possibly the original BTK, but can't prove it at this point in time. But if you're interested in just that, please do check the link below. But understand that even if Dennis Rader was telling the 100% truth, or he wasn't being given a deal. Oh, and you would wonder, why would anybody give him? Why would he? So if there was no death penalty in the Dennis Rader case, it was Kansas. Death penalty stopped in 1991, and no, his crime stopped by 1991, according to the police, and the death penalty was not reinstated until 1994. So there might have been a deal that if you go ahead with this plea deal, we won't charge you with anything that happened after 1994, which would be a death penalty. And that might have been worth it to him. I believe he killed after 1994. There was a very, very good case, which I believe he may well have committed along with others. And I just don't know whether those were not then focused on and put as part of the charges, because that would put him into the death penalty range. So sometimes squirrely things do happen. And I think something was off in the whole Dennis Rader thing. But check that out. But meanwhile, I say, even if he's telling even if he really did all those crimes, we didn't need to hear it. We didn't. And you don't need to hear it from him either, unless, it amuses you, which it should not. He killed 4 people brutally. That's all we need to know. So I think the plea deal, that they managed to get him to take the plea deal, I think in the long run was a good thing. So those are my thoughts on that. New to the channel, please do like and subscribe, and hopefully we won't have to hear much about him in the future at all.